It's crazy to think that back in 2009, Wolverine and the X-Men had the potential to be one of the greatest Marvel cartoons ever made. To say this show had a massive influence on me would honestly be an understatement. This show was virtually my introduction into all things X-Men as far as the characters, the lore, the setting, literally everything. As a kid, I even had this headcanon that this show existed in the same universe as Spectacular Spider-Man. And honestly, it's really not that far-fetched, considering the creator of Earth's Mightiest Heroes even confirmed that the Spectacular Spider-Man was originally meant to be the Spider-Man in that universe. So it's pretty cool to think about, and that kind of gives me some closure, but hey, we're really getting off topic here. The truth is, Wolverine and the X-Men always felt incomplete. It left so many ideas and storylines open that because it abruptly was cut short, it leaves me with so many questions unanswered. So in this video, I want to talk about why I still love this show despite it feeling like wasted potential, as well as what made it so special, and ultimately why it's one of Marvel's biggest wasted opportunities. One of the most fascinating parts of this show is its world building, because right from the start, the story hooks you with this freak accident involving Jean Grey that leads both her and Professor X disappearing. And this single event not only fractured the team, but it caused the X-Men to disband. And what's genius is how the show leans into that mystery. We're left wondering, well, what exactly happened between Jean and Charles? And throughout the season, that question constantly lingers in my mind. It adds that emotional layer that most superhero cartoons rarely explored at the time. But what I really appreciate is how grounded this version of the X-Men feels. The show makes it very apparent that mutants aren't celebrities, nor are they superheroes, but they are rather survivors. And with the Mutant Response Division, or MRD for short, every mission feels very high stakes. As the tension rises, Wolverine steps up, realizing that mutant kind needs the X-Men now more than ever. What follows is a journey of rebuilding, a scattered team forced to come together again to protect their species from extinction. Throughout the show, more and more familiar faces start making their appearance. From Emma Frost and Nightcrawler to Gambit, Angel, and even the Brotherhood of Mutants. Every character plays a small yet meaningful role in painting this large, interconnected world that felt like it could have expanded for years. And that kind of brings me back to my discussion that I made about Spectacular Spider-Man and this show being within the same universe. Listen, I don't know if I'm being delusional, but these shows came out during the same time period for a reason. It would have really been cool to see like a crossover between the two, just like they did in the 90s. When you think of team leaders, Wolverine usually isn't the first name that comes to mind. And that's exactly what makes his role in this show so fascinating. Logan's leadership is born not out of ego, but out of necessity. He's been through more battles and trauma than anyone on the team. And even though he's rough around the edges, you can tell he genuinely cares for everyone under his command. He's not the perfect leader, sure. Not to mention he's extremely stubborn, very hot-headed, and constantly questioning himself. We already know Wolverine is a flawed character by nature, but I feel that by putting him in a leadership role, you're allowing the character to develop. And not only that, that forces Logan to tackle his problems head on, while learning the responsibilities of leading a team.
Hard way it is.
What's even more interesting is how Xavier, even in his absence, trusts Wolverine to carry on his legacy. He understands Logan's pain, his guilt, and even his past. But he also knows that no one fights harder for what they believe in more than Wolverine. And one of my favorite examples of this comes from his dynamic with Rogue in this show. At first, she leaves the team afraid that Wolverine would abandon him, just like she feels abandoned by the world. Thus, her decision to join the Brotherhood is driven by that fear.
What have you been eating? Bugs?
And it's Logan's tough love that eventually brings her back. He's very harsh, yes, but it comes from a place of deep concern and loyalty. Throughout the series, you can actually see Logan learn how to lead a team. He starts off unsure, trying to, of course, fill in Xavier's shoes. But over time, he becomes the kind of leader who inspires others to follow him. Not because they have to, but because they want to. One of the biggest strengths of Wolverine and the X-Men lies in its character dynamics. At the beginning, the team is broken both emotionally and ideologically. Everyone's hurt and bitter and unsure of where they stand. But as the series progresses, you slowly see those bonds start to rebuild.
The going gets tough, the tough pack it in. Is that it? Good talk.
The tension between Wolverine and Cyclops, for example, is one of the show's most interesting subplots. One thing's for certain is Cyclops is extremely different in this show than he is in other adaptations. But it makes sense for the plot. Scott is broken at the start of the show because he's extremely haunted by Jean's disappearance. In a way, he resents himself for this happening. He's reckless, extremely cold-hearted, and often unstable at times throughout this show.
You're taking his side? He's an animal!
No, you are.
But even through all that, Wolverine refuses to give up on him. And that again comes from the mutual respect that they both have for each other. Logan understands Scott's pain just as much as Scott understands Logan's pain. And even though they constantly butt heads, there's an underlying sense that they both need each other in order to survive. Not only that, but I feel like every character was done well in this entire show. Even though some had smaller roles than others, the foundation of what makes the X-Men so special was still there, and it shined throughout the entire season. Now we have to talk about a character that is quite literally the highlight of this entire show, and that is of course Kurt Wagner, aka Nightcrawler.
You're Nightcrawler, aren't you? One of the X-Men.
Yes, but you can call me Kurt.
In my humble opinion, Kurt is the heart of the show. Power-wise, he was one of the most entertaining characters to watch. I'm really a fan of his teleportation ability because it makes for some of the best fight scenes in the series.
I'd be careful. You have no more mechanical arms to lose.
But what makes the character truly shine isn't his power, but it's his humanity. Kurt at his core is compassionate, selfless, and endlessly optimistic. He represents everything the X-Men stand for in terms of hope and acceptance and resilience. He is the living embodiment of what mutant kind represents.
But then I found peace by devoting my life to God. He directed me to this place where they value the character of my heart, not my appearance.
In episode 6 titled Excalibur, where he's first introduced, we get this touching flashback of him as a kid, where he's ridiculed by the public for how he looks. And that moment really hit hard for me because it captures what mutant kind is all about, being hated for something you can't even control. And yet, Kurt doesn't let the bitterness consume him. He turns it into kindness. Nightcrawler uses his trauma as a source of strength, to not only uplift others, but to remind them that being a mutant isn't something to hide, but rather something to embrace. He's the kind of character that gives mutants a reason to believe in themselves again. And that's why he'll always be my favorite X-Men member. Now, I'm going to be brutally honest. When talking about Wolverine and the X-Men, it's like talking about a digital relic. The show feels very obsolete in a way that I don't really see with other Marvel cartoons. And with only one season, Wolverine and the X-Men had so many stories left to tell. It ends on a really nasty cliffhanger that I was really looking forward to seeing. It would have been really interesting to see how Apocalypse would have played a huge role in season 2. It was something that could have elevated the show to an entirely new level, but we never got to see that pay off. And it's frustrating because it's like the foundation of this show was there. It had amazing world building, it had complex characterization, it had beautiful emotional storytelling, quite literally everything you'd want in a superhero cartoon. It also wasn't afraid to dive into the more mature themes or portray the X-Men as broken individuals trying to do good in a world that hates them, rather than just flashy superheroes. And had it continued, it would have been in the conversations of Spectacular Spider-Man and Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Instead, it remains this unfinished masterpiece, a glimpse at what could have been one of Marvel's best animated projects. But that's all I got for now. If you guys made it to the end, and I really appreciate it. Like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Also, comment down below what other cartoon or movie or video game I should cover next. And with that being said, be sure to smile because it never hurts to do so. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace!
Thank you. Come again.